subcommittee reports. Before we do that though, I would like, I know one of my bills reported out of subcommittee, House Bill 1425. It has kind of gotten caught up in the kind of tangent, in being accused of being related to redistricting, which is, I don't believe it is. It's the one that deals with the allocation of electors in a presidential election. It would do it on a congressional district basis rather than winner take all. But since there is pending litigation regarding redistricting, I would ask for a motion to table that legislation.
So moved. Second.
Motion and a second to table. All those in favor will say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, that bill is tabled. Now we'll go to subcommittee reports. Delegate Ransom.
Chairman, House Bill 1399, I believe we may have some amendments to that.
Has that amendment's been distributed? Is there a motion on the amendment?
So moved.
Second. Motion and a second to adopt the amendment to House Bill 1399. All those in favor will say aye. Aye. Opposed? All right, the amended bill is before us. Delegate Ransom.
We need to explain the amendment?
Well, go ahead and explain the bill.
Okay.
Or I can, it's my bill. If you,
yeah, sure, go ahead.
Let me do it.
Amended version.
This would change how the electoral boards are appointed. Currently, the governor makes all appointments to the state electoral board. He can make 2 appointments. There's 3 members, 2 appointments that are members of his party, and 1 of the party that finished second in the gubernatorial race. And then, likewise, all the local electoral boards, though they're not nominated by the governor, they are nominated by the political parties, 2 members being nominated by the local leader of the political party of the governor, and 1 of the party that finished second. What this would do is, I think the current system puts too much power in the hands of the governor. This would change it so that the speaker would make an appointment to the state board, the Senate Rules Committee would make an appointment to the state board, and then the governor would make an appointment to the state board. If all 3 of those were the same party, the governor would make an appointment of the party that came in second at the governor's election, and then it filters down to the local districts in a similar fashion, where the 1 would be made by the party of the speaker, 1 would be made by the party of the Senate majority, and then 1 by the governor. And again, if all 3 are the same, it would be the party of the person who finished second in the governor's race. So that's basically it. And the amendment, the administration had tried to raise some constitutional issues. I don't think they're there, but the amendment was designed to try to address some of their constitutional concerns. All right, Delegate Sickles.
Mr. Chairman, I was just going to bring up that last point that we had testimony in the subcommittee that this was a violation of the separation of powers in the Virginia Constitution. As the administration's position is this is an executive agency, their arguments would be very similar to the ones they made last year on the Go Virginia program on an executive agency and who should be able to run it. I'm not sure if this amendment, maybe someone from the audience can address whether this amendment addresses the constitutional questions or not, but I'm not going to vote for it anyway, even if it's constitutional. So, but you might want to know that before you vote for it. Thanks.
Meg, could you explain what the amendment did?
Delegate Cole, the amendments leave the governor with the authority to appoint people to the electoral board and the state electoral board and the local electoral board, but it does change the way the representation is. So now it'll be 1 member is of the political party having the highest number of members in the House of Delegates, another member representing the party having the highest number of members in the Senate, and 1 member being the political party of the governor. And then as Delegate Cole was explaining, if all three members are the same political party, then one of them will be the party that came in second. But it does remove the appointing authority of the Speaker and Senate rules in response to the concerns that were expressed.
All right, is there any other discussion on the legislation?
Mr. Chairman, the subcommittee did recommend reporting this 5-2, and that's a vote.
It's a motion to report, is there a second?
Second.
All right, there's a second. Any other discussion? All those in favor will vote yes. Everyone voted. Clerk will close the roll. The bill is reported. Delegate Ransom.
Chairman Cole, next on the agenda would be House Bill 1598. That's also related to voter registration, proof of citizenship. This bill requires a person to provide proof of U.S. citizenship when registering to vote. If the applicant does not provide the proof, he is registered to vote in federal elections only. If he does provide this proof, he'll be registered to vote in federal, state, and local elections. The subcommittee recommend reporting this 5-2, and I also move.
Motion to report, is there a second? Second, all right. Delegate Alba.
So, what is proof of citizenship in the bill?
Chairman Cole, Delegate Alvo, if you look on page 3, beginning on line 129 of the introduced bill, there's a list of documents that will suffice as proof of citizenship. It includes birth certificates, your passport, naturalization documents, there's several other items.
Okay, can I have a follow-up question then? So the summary, this says proof of citizenship. The summary would be more accurate to say provides proof of citizenship by providing one of the enumerated documents in the law.
Chairman Cole, that change could be made to the summary.
Mr. Chairman, the reason I'm saying is because a lot of people don't realize in America there is no list of citizens. And so it's always been difficult. When we started down this path in 2003 requiring proof of legal presence in Virginia for a driver's license, we found out that there's no list of who's a citizen. And so you're cobbling together documents to provide evidence that you are a citizen. So it sounds good to me. Thank you.
And I would just say that there are other cases where we're required to show we are citizens, like such as when you apply for a passport and things like that. So this is not a novel concept. All right, any other discussion? All those in favor of reporting will vote yes. All right, clerk will close the roll. The bill is reported. Delegate Ransom.
Mr. Chairman, last on my report is House Bill 1730, and that will require the State Board of Elections, the State Electoral Board, to work with local electoral boards and registrars to come up with duties and responsibilities of electoral board members, and report that list of duties and responsibilities to state party chairs, local party chairs, and deliver that list to circuit clerks of the court, and before they are appointed. And it will also require the appointed electoral board members to understand what their responsibilities are before they accept that position. Subcommittee recommended reporting that 7-0, and I so move.
There's a motion and a second to report House Bill 1730. Is there any discussion? All those in favor of reporting will vote yes. Clerk will close the roll. The bill is reported. Delegate Rush here? Yep. All right, Delegate Rush, do you have a subcommittee report?
I do, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, first was House Bill 1933, Delegate Carr, and I do see that she was here. It gives you, notice of withdrawal for information to the voters. This come about through the mayoral election here in Richmond, and we had a substitute, so I'll move the substitute.
Okay, there's a motion to adopt the substitute in a second. Any discussion? All those in favor of adopting the substitute will vote yes, or say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, the substitute is before us. Delegate Rush.
And Mr. Chairman, this was recommended reporting 4-3, and I believe the patron is here, so she may want to explain her bill.
Delegate Carter, can you come forward and explain your bill?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the subcommittee. Actually, the bill's purpose is to ensure that the voting public has the most up-to-date and accurate information about a candidate on their ballot, about ballots that are ready and willing to serve in the office before they cast the ballot. It was prompted by the situation that we had here in Richmond. We had a number of candidates, and a certain number of them, percentage of them dropped out, some after the ballots had been printed. So this came about as was prompted by a constituent, but we worked with the registrar and the Board of Elections about just having a simple process in place so that if a candidate withdraws, the candidate makes sure that they get that withdrawal in writing to the registrar.
Basically, what your bill does is just set forward a formal process for a candidate to withdraw from an election. Is
That's
that
correct. Yes, sir.
Is there any other discussion? Motion to report?
Second.
And a second. All those in favor will vote yes. Clerk will, there it goes. All right, clerk will close the roll. The bill is reported.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Delegate Rush.
Next on the report, Mr. Chairman, is House Bill 2179, Delegate Sickles. And last year we had done some reform where the first person who turned in their ballots was first on the, for nonpartisan elections, would be first on the ballot instead of going by alphabetical order. We discussed how Delegate Albo had been elected all these years because of his last name. And so this extends that to independent candidates and all other nonpartisan elections. It was recommended reporting 7-0, and I so move with the amendment.
Let's adopt the amendment first. Is there a motion to adopt the amendment?
So moved.
All right, motion and second to adopt the amendment. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, the amended bill is
Move to report.
Motion and second to report the amended bill. Delegate Sickles, do you want to add any words of wisdom before we vote on your bill?
No, it's a pretty small little bill.
All right. All those in favor of reporting will vote yes. Clerk will close the roll. The bill is reported. Delegate Rush.
I would note that Delegate Albo did vote for that, so his own detriment. Way to go.
I'm for the people.
Next, Mr. Chairman, is House Bill 2343. It's Delegate Bale. And currently, the State Board of Elections checks with the databases of other states to see if there's duplicate registration. And if there is, there's a procedure to take care of that and see where the person should be voting. And Delegate Bales allows the local registrars to now take that over. Delegate Bale is here, and was recommended reporting this 5-2, and I so move.
Mr. Chair, there's a substitute that addresses significant concerns that most.
Okay, all right, there's a motion to adopt the substitute, which I believe has been distributed. And a second, all those in favor of adopting the substitute, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, the substitute is before us. Delegate, can you explain?
I can. Mr. Chair, you and another member expressed concerns that by ordering the localities to do certain things duplicative or also have costs for the localities that we weren't willing to write the check for. So we went back, and what this does is it takes away the requirements language of what they do with the information, but it does require the state board to send the information when they get it. There's multiple sources. We have the ERIC system, the cross-check system. They also use an NCOA to see when someone has moved. We're gonna get that information to the registrars. Obviously, some have more resources than others in terms of following up with the other states. But I've, with that, and I think it addresses the concerns that were raised at the subcommittee, and I'm not aware of opposition, but obviously the exact version of this bill was not heard before. Thank you.
Has the department had a chance to look at the substitute yet?
For 15 minutes, I showed it to him earlier, but I don't want to pretend he had it for 3 days.
The commissioner's a fast reader, so.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yes, the delegate did share the substitute with me. The department still has concerns about the potential for lack of uniformity and what will be done with this information when it's passed to the registrars. We would certainly, as we do currently, and consistent with federal law, have a prohibition on not removing people simply because they appear on that list, but there are other things that are required. So without that being explicitly in there, I think we still cannot support this.
Okay. But, if this bill were to pass, it doesn't require you to really change what you're doing as far as your cleanup efforts on the list, does it?
That's correct, Mr. Chairman. We would continue doing the extensive list maintenance process that we do now.
Mr. Chair. So we had a discussion before. What he was talking about is there are, of course, various requirements from federal law and other parts of state law. You could have a sentence in here that says, and don't do anything that's not otherwise illegal. The lawyer in me is very nervous when we say that. It's already illegal someplace else. Delegate Albo could walk you through the problems with putting it someplace and not other places. And so if it's illegal, I think the safest thing from a drafting standpoint is just say it's illegal and not have a second reference here to other things unless you're going to restate them all. That's all. It's not. I don't disagree with anything that he's saying, but we want to get the localities to have their things they can do that are not being done at the state level in terms of following up with the other states. Just, they can actually try to get information and try to clean up the list a little bit. But that's the bill. Thank you.
All right, is there any discussion on the bill?
Move to adopt, did we adopt substitute?
Yeah, we adopted the
Move to
substitute.
report the substitute.
Motion to report the substitute in a second. All those in favor will vote yes. Clerk will close the roll. The bill is reported.
Mr. Chairman Cole, I appreciate being called up so quickly in the docket with my name being Bell. Thank you.
Delegate Rush.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, House Bill 2364, Delegate Heritage. It's the automatic suspension upon a conviction of a felony. It says constitutional officers. We amended that to include all officers. It does exclude, which is excluded in the Virginia Constitution, federal offices, and the state governor, lieutenant governor, attorney general, and House of Delegates and Senate. But it provides that the officer who is convicted of a felony under the law of any state or the United States shall be automatically suspended upon conviction, regardless of any appeals, pleadings, delays, or motions. It was recommended reporting with the amendment 7-0, and I'll move the amended bill.
All right, there's a motion to adopt the amendment and a second. All those in favor of adopting the amendment will say aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, the amended bill is before us.
Move to report.
Motion to report, is there a second?
Second.
Is the second Delegate Miller?
Mr. Chairman, if I could ask the, staff, what does suspended mean? Automatic suspension, does that mean they are removed from the position? Are they, let's just say it's a sheriff, does he still hold the elected position but cannot do the job? Is he still on the payroll? What is suspended?
Delegate Miller, Chairman Cole, I believe in this situation he would be taken out of office until the conclusion of, the appeal process and everything. The language in the bill, or current law, does provide that their salary would continue to be put in a separate account, and then if at the end of this process he found, to not have committed this felony, then he would get his salary, he would be back in office. It would be a temporary suspension just for that time period.
Thank you.
All those in favor of reporting will vote yes. Clerk will close the roll. The bill is reported. Delegate Rush.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Next is House Bill 2397, Delegate Pillion. There was a substitute, so I'll move the substitute.
There's a motion to adopt this, and second to adopt the substitute. All those in favor of adopting the substitute will say aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, the substitute is before us. Delegate Rush.
And what the substitute does is lower, you have the description here in your notes, but it raises the threshold from 1,500 to 3,500 for signatures that require 50 signatures to get on the ballot, and it's for smaller localities, and we hope it'll encourage more folks to run, make it less onerous on them, getting to 125 signatures. The recommended reporting, and I so move. 7-0, I so move.
Second.
Motion and a second to adopt or to report the substitute. Any other discussion? All those in favor will vote yes. Clerk will close the roll. The bill is reported. Business for the committee will rise.